Hi everyone. Tonight we are going to do a review of topics B and C before we take our assessment tomorrow. And the things that we covered this week are naming decimal fractions, comparing and ordering decimals, and rounding decimals. This lesson does not have any quiz questions. So what I need you to do is get a piece of scratch paper and work along with me. You're going to be pausing the movie when I tell you to and doing the work and then starting the movie up, and I'll show you the answer. So as you recall, there are 4 different methods we can use for naming decimal fractions. Let's take the number 2 3/10. Standard form means that we're just writing the numbers, 2 3/10. Word form means we're writing the words that we hear when we say it. 2 3/10. Unit forms means that we're naming the units. So we could say 2, let me go back there, because usually when we use the unit form, we use a number, 2 ones and 3 tenths. Now, unit form, there are different ways to name the units, so I could also call 2 3/10 23 tenths. Those are 2 ways of using different units to name the same number. And last of all is expanded form, and that's the one where we multiply by a power of 10 or a fraction of 10. So in this case, it would be 2 times, I don't know why my 2 looks so funny there. Let me try again. 2 times 1 plus 3 times 1/10. Now, when I'm multiplying by the fractional part, I can multiply by a standard fraction, for example, 1/10. I could also have expressed that as 3 times 1/10, or some of you like using the negative exponents, 3 times 10 to the negative 1. So any of those 3 ways express the same thing. This is the preferred way of expressing it in 5th grade. Okay, I'm going to ask you to write a number 4 ways, and the number is 300 and 502 thousandths. 300 and 502 thousandths. So on your scratch paper, I want you to write it in standard form, in word form, in unit form, and in expanded form. You'll need to pause this while you're doing that, and then start up again when you have it written down so you can see the answers. Okay, here are the answers. 300 and 502 thousandths in standard form. Of course, this is the word form because it looks it has all the words that we say. 300 and 502 thousandths. This is the unit form. 300ths, 5/10ths, 2 thousandths. And this is the expanded form. 3 times 100, which could also be written as 3 times 10 squared, plus 5 times 1/10, plus 2 times 1,000th. Okay, now we're going to compare these two numbers. So again, I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video, use your scratch paper to compare the two numbers, and then put the greater than or less than sign or equal sign in between them, and then start the video up again to see if you agree with me. Okay, so the important thing about comparing numbers is to keep the places lined up, which is why I've been encouraging you to use a place value chart to do this. So you could draw a place value chart if you wanted to, or the important part really is to just make sure that you keep those decimal points lined up. And the hundreds place, the tens place, the ones place, the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place, the numbers in those places all lined up. So if you can do that without a place value chart, that's great. The important thing is that you have the decimals in a row and all the tens stacked on top of the tens, etc. And when I do that, I can see that the hundredths place is the same, it's equal. The tenths place is equal. The ones place is equal. And when I get down here to the tenths place, I see that this 9 is larger than the 8. And so that means that 435 and 892 thousandths is going to be less than 435 and 982 thousandths. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do some rounding. We're going to round 1 and 57 hundredths to the nearest tenth using a vertical number line. So once again, I'd like you to pause the video now and use your scratch paper, draw a vertical number line. If you need to use the place value chart to help you out, do that. There's no shame in using a tool. And then when you're ready, you can start the video again and see how I did it, see if you agree with me. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to make my vertical number line. I'm going to mark the minimum, the maximum, and the midpoint. And then I'm going to be looking at the place. I want to round it to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to look here at the tenths. There's a 5 in the tenths place. There's a 1 in the ones place, and I know that there are 10 tenths in every one. So if I add that onto the 5 that's already in the tenths place, I have 15 tenths. So that will be my minimum, and my maximum will be one more than that, 16 tenths. Okay? Half of a tenth is 5 hundredths. So I have to add 5 hundredths onto my minimum, and that is going to be 155 hundredths. It looks like I've run out of room to write that word. Okay, I'm going to look back up here, and this number is 157 hundredths. So it's going to be a little bit more than 155 hundredths. So I know that my answer will round up to 16 tenths, and I'm going to write a little inequality over here. 1 and 57 hundredths rounds to 16 tenths, and the standard form for 16 tenths is 1 6/10. Okay, so if there was anything on the review that you still found confusing, go back and watch it again. Try to do it over again and see if you get it right the second time. And then you'll be really prepared for the little quiz that we'll have in class tomorrow. Good luck, and I'll see you in the morning.